Hey, welcome to Define My Day. I'm Nick, and I am here to help you get through whatever you might be going through with Define My Day. If you're not a customer yet, I'm here to answer any questions you might have about Define My Day and the whole process behind it. This is something we do regularly on Sunday mornings for our members in the group, and we're starting to bring it out on Tuesdays now so that we can have more people that aren't so familiar with Define My Day, and maybe people that aren't members of the group yet, kind of give them an idea of what we're doing on Sunday mornings. So this is intended to be very light, relaxed. Hey, I'm here in a sweatshirt and a hat, and I have, because it's Brews Day, I have my beer with me, my winter warmer, because we are going to need it. It's going to be cold. My kids have off for the next 2 days because it's going to be so cold, below zero, and they're here, so you're going to hear them in the background probably as we're going. But barring any interruptions, we'll be good to go for the next hour or so. I look forward to answering any questions you might have. I'm happy to see you. Ask them as we go here. I have some things I normally say up front just to kind of get things rolling and as people start coming in. But ask your questions as we go, and I'll answer them as we get to them. I'm happy to answer as many as we can in this hour. But keep the questions coming, because the last thing anybody wants is for me to be staring blankly at the camera. Just real quick to see who is in here. I said I know a couple people couldn't make it, so they want to know when the replay is going to be. It's always available. You can see the replay of this video in the feed. And Anne-Marie, hi. How are you? Good to see you. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to make this bigger and mute it so I can see the comments as they come up live. All right, we're good to go there. All right, so a couple things that I wanted to talk about. We mentioned in the email. It was getting started, keeping going with the process. Those are the two main pain points with Define My Day, and really any good habit, right? If we have a habit of not doing something, or if something's new to us, it's hard to maintain yourself in the process, right? So I'm going to kind of give some tips on how to do that. I'm also going to get into some other things like keeping motivation. We're going to talk about a book that I recommended in our Sunday, and then an article that came up afterward. So we'll get into all of this. The first thing that I want to start with is a quote that is on my shower. I have we have those shower notes that we have on our website, right? I love these things. I can write notes in my shower as I'm thinking of things, and I can rip them off and stick them onto the side of my shower or take them with me into my office. But I have one that I stuck to my shower months ago, and I always read it every single time I go in there, and it's that nothing outside of you will change until you do. So basically, your situation is your situation. It doesn't matter if you barely leave the house, or if you are an owner of a business, or somewhere in between the two. Whatever your situation is, it will not improve until you take responsibility for yourself and begin to make the changes that need to happen. We can't wish for the lottery to hit and us win millions and change our lives. Nobody's going to come along looking to change our lives. We need to take responsibility for the situations we're in, the situations we're creating, and we need to fix those situations to the extent that they need fixed. And that's what this process is all about. This is taking responsibility for the actions that we take every day to make sure that those actions take us to where we want to be. Not where anybody else wants us to be, where we want to be, because we are where that action starts. So that's where we're starting from here, right? If you've already purchased Define My Day, you purchased it because you want a change. You want to become more productive. You want a more positive outlook. You want healthier habits. All of these things that you want. For me, it was a way to find more time to spend with my family, to grow my business, to become a better person. That's what started me in this process. I knew things needed to change. Your situation is yours, but the process is the same. That 10 minutes each morning where we decide, this is what I need to do today, and I'm going to follow through on this. Hey, Christine, I see you. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Lynn, glad you're here. Judy, Becky, Gail, I'm glad you're all here. Thanks for joining. To continue on, I know a lot of people, um, have a problem getting started, right? So you purchase Define My Day, and sometimes you don't even take it out of the box. Sometimes you open it and you look at it and go, whoa, this is too big. Other people look at it and say, well, it's too simple. It's just a matter of perspective. But, like anything, whether it's dieting, exercise, it's self-education, reading, meditation, whatever you feel you need to do for yourself, you committed in one way when you purchase the product or whatever, but now we need to follow through with it and we actually need to do it. So the best thing for me is to realize, for one, it's just a tool. It's just like a hammer can't build a house. Define My Day isn't going to change your life. The action you take with it is what's going to change your life. So, we need to really focus on the actions that we're taking every day, and we need to make it as simple as possible for ourselves. And the way we do that is we schedule some time on a Sunday to sit down and go through it and set our goals, right? And then we, every morning, should try to do it in the same 10-minute block each morning, whether you have to wake up 10 minutes earlier or schedule some time with your coffee and go through your Define My Day process, that one day of deciding, okay, these are my priorities that support my goals, that support my milestones. These are the things that I'm committing to do today to move me a little bit forward. They don't need to be gigantic. They don't need to be life-changing. It just needs to be a little step forward, and as you gain momentum, you can kind of feel out where you're going with that. Now, I also hear that people get rolling with it, and then they stop. They fall off the wagon, whatever. Now, I preach that, we need to forgive ourselves. Wake up tomorrow and just keep on going, right? There's no starting over. There's no do-overs. We just get back up tomorrow and try again, right? What you don't want to do is forgive yourself into inaction, which is something we talked about on Sunday, is that we can't just completely say, well, no big deal. I'm going to forgive myself. That's excuse making. We don't want to make ourselves into inaction. We want to continue on the path because we know it's the one that's going to take us where we want to go. But why is it so hard? Because we feel like eventually things are going to change for us. We need to take responsibility for it. I went to a memorial service on Sunday, and at this memorial service, it happens once a year, and somebody recites a poem by Robert Hastings called "The Station." And I'm not going to read it to you, but I posted it on the page. You can go back and look at it. It's got a photo of railroad tracks. But the basic premise is that we're all on this train of life, right? And we keep looking forward to this station, this destination we're going to get to. And that destination is usually like when we can have enough money to buy the Mercedes we want, or when we can finally go on that dream vacation, or we can finally buy that house, or we can finally, when the kids finally go off to college, or when we can finally retire. We keep looking to all of these events like it's going to be the last thing that ever happens. But in reality, it's just mile markers. It's just, just things along the journey. And none of it is going to resolve everything that's going on in our lives. The only true destination, the only station is death. That is it. We're pulling into the station then, and it's over. Too late to do anything. And the last thing I want for you, and the last thing I want for myself, is for us to be on the wrong track, for us to be going the wrong direction. We have an ideal destination for each one of us, something that's going to make us incredibly happy and fulfilled. And are we wasting our time getting off at every dumb little stop? Are we paying attention to someone else's destination and going on a ride with them? What are we doing? What are we doing day in and day out? If we know what we want most out of life, what's going to make us most happy, why are we not going for it? Or are we just not aware that we're not taking the actions that we need to take to get to that destination, to get to that place of fulfillment? That destination I refer to is that feeling that when it's our time to go and I look back over my life, I'm going to say to myself, man, I'm satisfied with that. I don't regret the decisions and the actions that I took. So, that's my destination. And my destination is to live, my goal is to live according to my values and where I want to go and my vision. And, I'm going to do whatever I can to keep course correcting. And how that happens is by looking every month at my goals and those weekly milestones and bringing it back to the action that I take today. So what today do I need to do to become a better person, to help more people, to become more financially secure, so that I can spend more time with my family, so that if anything comes up that I'm able to handle it for all of us. I look at the way I was a couple of years ago and the way I am now, and I am completely different. By far not perfect. I have a lot of work to do on myself, but I'm always going to keep trying to get there. And that's what we all need to do, to keep trying to move forward just a little bit to get a little bit better. So that habit of inaction, that habit of waiting until tomorrow, that habit of not doing what we know is best for ourselves is the habit we need to break. We break that habit by identifying the wrong things that we're doing, the things that are taking us off track, and also identifying and following through on the things that we know we need to do for ourselves. And many times those things are a lot easier than we think they are. I'm not one to say that exercise and diet is easy. I've had my own battle with that, but I also know where I'm screwing it up. But I also know that we make a lot of excuses. And, not having time is the biggest excuse that I hear for a lot of people. And it doesn't matter. I mean, it could be for this, it could be for exercise, it could be for anything. But in reality, we all have an amount of time in our lives. We all have time that we're wasting. We probably waste a lot more time than we care to let anybody else know. And I can tell you, I mean, there's people in our lives that my wife and I want to hang out with more often. And for 10 years or 15 years, these people tell us, oh, we don't have time to go out. We don't have time to go out. And we say, what are you talking about? Well, you don't have kids yet. You don't know. Well, okay, now we have kids and we're still trying to make time. Well, why can't we hang out now? Well, I have too much work to do. Well, okay. So if in the way we talk about it here between my wife and I is if like people make time for what they want to make time for. And you probably have someone like that in your life also, right? Where you don't feel like a priority. Because they're making other things important for them. They are making those things their time-worthy projects and tasks. And they might be completely off base with what that is, but it's important to understand that we all have the time that we want to make for certain things, whether it's people, activities, ourselves, our health, whatever. So we need to focus on where we're investing our time. Now, I found this article online, and I'm gonna share with you the productive unicorn and the busy donkey. And I love this. I am going to show this to everybody that tells me they don't have time to do something. So I'm going to read these to you. I'm going to bring this over here so I don't have to look away all the time. All right, so productive people have a mission for their lives. The busy people are busy donkeys. Busy people want to look like they have a mission. Productive unicorns have few priorities. Busy donkeys have many priorities. Productive unicorns say yes slowly, which means they're careful about where they invest their time. The busy donkeys say yes quickly and generally to everything. One of the things that I always remember, I heard it somebody speaking in a YouTube video years ago. When you say yes to one thing now, you're saying no to an infinite number of things in the future, because we have a limited amount of time. So if we say yes to something now, then we are saying no to other things because we've already said yes and committed to this one thing. I'm not saying for you to be non-committal, but another way of approaching this is if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. So if you're going back and forth and wasting time about, well, should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? Should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? If it's not a hell yes, say no. And that relief from not having to worry about it anymore is immediately a weight off your shoulders. And then down the road, you're not going to feel bad about some obligation that you're involved in that you don't really want to do. Okay. Productive unicorns focus on clarity before action. Busy donkeys focus on action. So for a productive person, they're deciding for themselves, is this worth my time? Is this worth what I'm going to invest into it? Am I going to get something more important out of it? Busy people are just doing things. They're running around from the moment they wake up until they go to bed, and they're almost proud of that. Being busy is not the mission of life. Productive people close doors. Busy people keep all doors open. Keep all their options open. Closing a door is incredibly valuable. Then you never have to walk into that room again. You never have to do that action again. You never have to worry about that relationship again. Whatever it might be, close that door and go the one direction you need to go. Productive people let the results do their talking. Busy donkeys let people talk about how busy they are. Okay, right? So how many people do you know that are always talking and always telling people how busy they are? They're always going on and on about all the things they're doing. But in reality, when you step back and look at all the things they're getting done, well, are they really getting things done? Or are they just talking about doing things? There's some people that talk about all the work they do and they're maybe really getting things done, but then you also have to wonder, would you ever want to live like that? I wouldn't. Productive people make time for what is important. Busy people talk about how little time they have. Talked about that, right? Productive people focus. Oh, exactly what we're talking about with Define My Day. Busy people multitask. Multitasking is dead. The brain is not made up for multitasking. We'll talk about that in depth at another time. Multitasking sucks. Productive people take their time. Busy people respond quickly to emails. It seems like it doesn't quite fit, but at the same time, we kind of know what they're going with here. Productive people want others to be effective. Busy people want other people to be busy. Of course, right? You all know that person that, like, you could be focusing, but if you're not looking busy, your boss is going, hey, what are you doing over there? Are you really working? No, they don't let the work speak for itself. Productive people are making those changes. Busy people talk about how they will change. So in this last one, we're rolling it all the way back, right? We can talk about intending to make a change. We can talk about the things we're going to do, or we can just do them. And even with yourself, you can tell yourself you're going to do all these things, but if you're not actually doing it, what are we doing, right? So we are making those changes. And you don't have to make immediate crazy changes, right? This isn't a race. We're not competing with anybody. You don't have to be perfect. We just need to make the changes along the way. Small. All right, I'm going to take a break here and look and see what kind of comments we got so far. Rachel says, that's me. I'm having a hard time figuring out how to incorporate it in with my daily calendar or agenda. I love the idea for sure. I've always used Franklin Covey in trying to simplify, but it's not working yet. I love the concept. First of all, thank you. I appreciate that. Having a hard time figuring out how to incorporate it in with my daily calendar. So what I would do for you, I would try to, at the very beginning, start small. The first week or two, have little milestones. Maybe one of your milestones is incorporating Define My Day into your weekly process. And then you just have to start, right? You just have to start and get the ball rolling and get a feel for it. This entire process is all about taking the action by, writing down and then following through on those actions, and then reviewing what we do in the day. How did it go? How did it make me feel? Was it worth my time? What knocked me off track? These are the things that, we're sort of exploring ourselves in this way to kind of figure out what we need to do for ourselves to tweak the process to make sure that we're working right for us. A lot of people, when talking about making it work on their calendar, are worried about the ideal day, right? The ideal day is just that if everything worked out perfectly, this is how it would fit into my day. And you're not going to be able to do that immediately. You have outstanding obligations, you have a current schedule you're used to. But if you keep that ideal day in mind and then try to slot in things, starting off with when you wake up and when you go to bed, those can be the hardest, the easiest ones to write down, but the hardest ones to do. And then you just sort of slot things in, and the more you try to stick to that ideal day to build up that routine, the easier it gets. And it sort of naturally starts fitting in for you. But it can take a lot of time. You don't have to be perfect with it. My ideal day, I don't hit it 100%. I don't think I even hit it half the time. But I'm always trying to work into that framework. Carol says, hi, how are you? And Beverly says, sorry you're late. Hey, that's okay. You can be late. And if you think you missed anything, you can go back and watch the video after this is over. You can watch from the beginning. Michelle, you're welcome for the motivation. Roy says, does that start with why on your back bookshelf? Yes, it is. Start with why, one of my favorite books that I read over the past couple of years. Excellent book. Leaders Eat Last was also an excellent book. Anything Simon Sinek does is good. Anne-Marie, you're nodding. I guess I said something in there that you agreed with. A clean no is better than a dirty yes. Roy, heck yes, man. How many times do you meet somebody or ask somebody to do something and they say yes, and you almost know they're going to back out of it? It's because they're not being honest with themselves. They're not being honest with you. And it really, if you just get down to it, you can be honest about a no. Pleasing somebody with, in a way being dishonest with them is never the best way to handle things. No, I can't do this. I have other obligations. Really effective people have an easier time doing this. And I also think that the more you value your time, the easier it is for you. If you have clear priorities, it's easier for you. I'll give you a great example that just happened to me, a decision that I made that I would not have made 2 years ago, and I didn't make it 2 years ago. So at this memorial service, the Pro Bowl was at 3 o'clock or 3:30 Sunday, right? This memorial service started at 11 o'clock. There's a service, there's a lunch, and then everybody goes out for drinks afterwards. So a bunch of friends that haven't seen in a while say, hey, let's go grab some beers. We're going to go out, down to a cigar bar, blah, 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 blah. 2 years ago, I made the decision to actually do that. And I think I showed up at home 7 or 8 o'clock that night. Well, in my case, this time, look, my priority is to hang out with my kids. My priority is to spend time with my kids. My priority is to let my kids know that they are important to me. And summing all that up is to be the best father that I can, right? So when this guy asks me to go out with him, I would love to. Haven't seen him in a while, want to do it. I said, man, I can't. I promised my son that I would watch the Pro Bowl with him. And, I got to leave here in 10 minutes if I'm going to make that. And he rolled his eyes. And he said, I can't roll my eyes as hard as I want to right now. And for me, that's okay, right? You can be disappointed with me. You can be, whatever. But for me, I know like him being dissatisfied with me doesn't matter because I know who in the hierarchy of things I need to be satisfied with me and where I want to be. That vision for myself is a guy that, while tired and it's been a long day, is sitting on the couch, half falling asleep with my son, but I'm there, right? And we're talking about the football game and we're eating snacks and I'm there. Going out for a beer doesn't do anything for me. It maybe builds relationships, but I can do that at another time. So that's a decision, again, that I don't make 2 years ago. But knowing now how clear I want to go, where I want to go with my life, that's the decision I just made. Even when he couldn't roll his eyes any harder. It's just the way it is right now. And I can't feel bad about that. Carol says, a no uttered from the deepest conviction is better than a yes merely uttered to please or worse, to avoid trouble. It's Mahatma Gandhi. Very good. I've never heard that one. Thank you. Becky says she's getting better at saying no. Write myself a Becky to-do list for each morning. Very cool. Very cool. Now, the important thing when you're talking about a to-do list is adding in priority to that, right? So to-do list, and Define My Day, the to-do list only appears at the beginning of each week. The reason for that is because we don't want to be overwhelmed with to-dos. we want to have a list of to-dos that need to get done eventually, but we need to add some priority into that. So we need to, I can fill my days with checking email, answering client calls, handling little things around the office. But in reality, it might not get done what I really need to get done, because answering client calls might seem immediately important, but doing client work is actually the more important thing, or gaining new business is actually the more important thing. Um, I might have a lot of things to do around the house, but maybe the really important thing is for me to spend time with my kids because they haven't seen me much in the past couple of days. So those, like, we need to have some priority into that to-do list. And the easiest way to do that is, have that vision for yourself, and then make sure that the things you're spending the most time in relate to that vision. Rachel says beer and Facebook knocked me off track. Hello, not kidding. Hey, this is the first time beer and Facebook are going to get you on track, sister. I have no issue with beer and Facebook. Just we can't overdo it, right? We can't overindulge. I'm not going to have a half a dozen beers with you tonight, and I'm not going to sit on Facebook past our 10 o'clock-ish end time. But you can lay in bed and surf on Facebook until midnight, right? Look at that screen time app on your iPhone, and that'll make you sick if you spend a lot of time on your phone. Anne Marie said, "LOL, I make the same comments. People think I'm joking, but it's really true." Yeah, you know what? Anymore, it's so. I mean, like, I think we all have, and the ones that don't make these comments, the ones that don't say the things that they're really doing, or maybe not being honest with us. There are some. We all do some time wasting stuff, and some stuff that's just not in our best interest. Rachel says, I work direct sales and I do very, very well. Good. But I know I can do 100 times better if I could just be more productive and not such a procrastinator. Yeah, right? And that's kind of where I was with my business 3 or 4 years ago when I started doing this. I was doing well, right? I was a member of a country club. I had a nice car. I did blah, 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 blah. But I was so unhappy. My marriage sucked. My relationship with my kids, I didn't realize it sucked. I was going out all the time. I was incredibly social. My business, I always felt like I was chasing it. Like I was always just doing more work, and we were always looking. Does this sound familiar? I was always looking for that one point when everything would just clear up and be okay. But it never got there. I will always tell my wife, well, we can get a new house when. We can, we'll be able to afford this when. We'll pay off all our debt when. And when never came. We're just always chasing it. And one day, I kind of stood back and said, what the hell am I doing? I'm working my butt off, and my marriage stinks. I hardly see my kids. I'm not spending my time in the most important places. And I am procrastinating in things that really are important for me. And how many of you ever have that feeling when you're procrastinating about something? Like there's just something you're like putting it off days, weeks maybe. And then you finally do it and it took 10 minutes. So all the time you spent stressing out about it, you just didn't do it. And you could have just let it go quickly. But yeah, I in direct sales, it's funny because I know a lot of people that work in direct sales, and they do really well. And once you build that book of business, you sometimes you can take your foot off the gas. And I always think to myself, watching some of these guys, that if they put in just a little bit more effort, they could really put it over the top. But it's just we kind of settle into that spot where we're comfortable, and hopefully that place is a secure place. Michelle, you're reading Leaders Eat Last now. That's awesome. It's a good book. Everything Simon Sinek does, I recommend. How to Stop Feeling Like Shit, and it's actually really good. I've never heard of that book. I'm going to write that down. I don't know, does anybody mind if I swear on here? I swear, not as much as my wife, but I do swear, and I always refrain from it because I don't want to get anybody offended. But yeah, I do swear kind of a lot, and it's funny because my kids don't at all. and they won't ever swear, and they now they're starting to call us on it. Becky says, I'm into simplifying my life. Whatever makes my life easier, I make it happen. That is awesome. Becky, somebody we talked about last month probably was Rory Vaden. He has the Procrastinate on Purpose is his book. And he has this time, this way of simplifying his schedule, and there's a couple of different factors into it, and the way he goes through his funnel as far as how he actually decides on what to accomplish and what to procrastinate on. But he also has things that, the things that, sorry, I just read Anne-Marie said that's insulting. I can't think of what you might be saying is insulting, but let me know. The Procrastinate on Purpose, there's a significance line. So in the Franklin Covey or the Stephen Covey quadrants of importance, right? You have important, you have urgent. He actually adds a significant kind of other axis where you take care of significant things. Things that if you spend time on them now, it'll create much more time in the future, like automation or maybe training somebody to do something for you. It would be significant because then you take some time off your plate, or a lot of time off your plate in the future. So yeah, simplifying life. I've done the same thing. Define My Day helped me do that a lot. And it's funny, the people that write comments in our ads, when they say, I would never have time for this, one more thing to do, that sort of thing. That's sort of not the point. If you don't have time to do this, you need this. And that was my whole point, is that I didn't have time to do this, but I made time to do it because I needed to figure out where I was wasting my time and where I needed to more invest my time. And that has significantly simplified my life at this point. I'm not spending a lot of time going to network events. I'm not spending my time going to events that don't matter. I'm not spending my time on relationships that were bad for me. I'm not spending time doing things that I shouldn't be doing. And that's pretty much it. Oh, apparently the insulting thing was between Rachel and Anne-Marie. Okay. I don't know exactly what was going on there. Oh, the friend rolling my... Okay, so we all had a little miscommunication there. So my friend rolling his eyes. Yeah, he was joking, but at the same time not. Okay, so we all had a miscommunication there. So what's the difference between a to-do list and a task list? Michelle says. So I would call it the same thing. If you're talking about tasks on... Let me find a blank page. My last week, so I don't really have too many blank pages. Okay, so on here, I have my to-do list is at the front of each week, right? Here, I have a priority, and then my priority might have tasks that support it. So let's say today what my priority was this video, right? So for this video, task number 1 was to send out an email reminding everybody that we were doing this video today. Task number 2 was to set up the equipment, and task number 3 might have been to make another post in the group or something, reminding people there. So priority number 2 maybe was to make dinner. So task number 1, and making dinner is not usually a priority for me, but I'm just using it as an example. Task number 1 might have been to purchase the food. Task number 2 might have been to prep the food, wash the dishes, whatever. So it's components of the bigger priority. Just so it's just harder to when I was just doing it priority 1, 2, and 3, I found myself like drawing lines and making notes. So that's where I came up with the supporting tasks. We don't want to create a to-do list out of these tasks. Now, there is this extra space over here. I don't know if you can see it, where we have these lines. Some people use this as a to-do list. You can do that. What I end up doing is I use it for notes, and I don't know, it might be a little bit blown out. I don't know if you can see it, but I just use it to jot down notes as I'm trying to remember what I might have to do today, or something that might be a priority tomorrow, or might be have to go into the to-do list later. So that's what I use it for. Other people can use it as a timeline also if they're trying to schedule things for the day. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Let me go back to my notes. Okay. Prioritizing, definitely. Facebook sucks you in. Yes, it does. Mary says she's done that. I'm assuming that means stick to Facebook for a long time. So Pamela says, so I got my journal, opened it up to get started, and realized I have no goals. So I open my journal and stare at it and flip through blank pages. LOL. I hear ya. All right. So Pamela, goals, and this is the quick and dirty way of doing it. When you die, you go to heaven, and you meet the most ideal version of Pamela, right next to St. Peter, right? And I'm sorry if you don't believe in heaven or whatever, but let's just, for the sake of argument, just go with it. But so you're going to meet perfect Pamela. Pamela made all the right decisions. Pamela lived according to what is most genuine for her, right? This is the Pamela that just lived life the way that God intended Pamela to live life. And then there's you. Are you guys identical twins, or are you complete strangers? And what can you do now to be ideal Pamela? Right? So this isn't ideal Nick. This isn't ideal anybody else. This is ideal Pamela. Ideal Pamela could be an incredibly giving person. Ideal Pamela might be filthy, stinking rich. Who knows? It's whatever you believe ideal Pamela is. But, are you operating so that you guys are on parallel tracks, or are you on completely separate paths? And what do you need to do to hop back over to get back to where ideal Pamela is? And, you can look at this another way, is that, when it's your time to go, what are you going to regret not doing? What are you going to regret about the way you lived? And you can change all of that. You just have to make small little changes. I'm not saying blow up your life. Don't run out and get a divorce and quit talking to all your friends and quit your job and all this other stuff. You can start making little adjustments to steer yourself back on that course that you are going to feel most fulfilled with. So don't make it huge. Don't make it huge. For me, one of my things is to be a great father. That's one of my visions. So I, every week, have little priorities built into my week and milestones. A milestone for me might be spend two evenings with my kids. Go out for the weekend. Go out on the weekend with my kids someplace outside of the house. Something like that. Read them books. One of my disciplines is to read them a book every night. So you can just operate small with that sort of thing. If you have a goal to get a promotion, what are the things you need to start doing now to get that promotion? Do you need to start studying 30 minutes a night? Do you need to wake up a little bit earlier? Do you get into work a little bit earlier? Do you need to start networking? Do you need to start looking for another job? They're all things. You can break them down into small little bite-sized chunks. We don't need to make them a gigantic leap forward, just small little chunks. Rachel says yes, yes, yes to everything. Awesome. Swearing's okay with you? Awesome. Thank you. Rachel totally took over live tonight. First time I've actually sat and watched. Hey, I love it. I need more. I see it. I have 39 new comments I haven't scrolled to yet. I'd much rather be doing that than sitting here waiting for people to type. So thank you. Appreciate it all. Anne Marie, work in a library, and the titles of some of the books make me do it at second glance. I'm sure. Mary says you don't allow swearing in your home. I hear you. I know some people are like that. That's just not the way we've ever been. My wife is from New York. She swears like crazy, and I think it's rubbed off on me. But my boys, I'm telling you, they do not, and they call us out on it. Gail says, I don't know how to either accept my job or just make a radical decision to stop my job from taking 50 to 60 hours a week. It's a workers' comp claims, and that is the way it is. Oh, yeah, I know. Government job? But I have, is that government job? It sounds like it would be. But I have a few years to retire. Do I wait it out? I've tried for a year to get a lower paying job and no one responds. No one is affected by it but me. I have other desires for what I want to do that I don't have the energy or time for. It is not a good atmosphere. Ugh, I hear you. And and that, I don't know what to tell you for that. I don't know how many years you have. Part of me says stick it out, but carve out time to do things for yourself. 50 to 60 hours a week is a ton. And if you're not making a ton of money for the 50 or 60 hours a week, and workers' comp would probably not be a government job. That's probably insurance, right? So I was thinking unemployment, I think, when you said workers' comp. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Is there a way to set boundaries so that it doesn't get creep into 50 or 60 hours a week? It's harder because if you're close to being retired, I know it's probably harder to find a job because a lot of people probably aren't hiring somebody that's close to retirement. It's a tough situation. I think that for me, I try to look at that and try to set some boundaries and try to set up a time to like walk out of the office. Say that you're not going to stay later than 6 o'clock p.m. and just start walking out. And is that going to affect your pay? Is it going to affect anything? The work is always going to be there, right? If you're going to come in no matter what, and you're going to have work to do. So then, can you get in trouble for it? Can you get fired for it? Can you, I guess you have to weigh the consequences. For me, not answering phone calls and not answering emails from clients was incredibly hard for them, but they got used to it because I'm getting the work done. So I'm not available. I'm not nearly as available as I used to be years ago, but we haven't lost a client for it. It's actually, we get a lot more work done and I feel like they're happier. So, I guess it just depends on what we think is good for us and what is really good for us. Anne-Marie says it took about 2 weeks to get into it. Yeah, just start, do what you can. It will come. And that is it. It's the journey. It's the whole process of doing this. Clarity comes, the fog lifts. It does get easier. And Rachel, you said you're getting involved in network events and are loving them. Good for you. I can't. I have such a hard time with them. I met a lot of good people there and I have a lot of good friends from networking events, but I just can't get into it. I need to get into a rhythm replying here on live feeds. Yeah. Dealing with Illinois weather. Man, Cynthia, the next 2 days, we're going under zero. It's going to be crazy. I know probably Illinois is worse. I know the middle of the country is really bad. I saw some place in, Grand Forks, I think is negative 60 with the wind chill. Crazy. Yes, so tasks are listed to complete the priority. So a priority might not have more than just what the priority is. So like on the weekend, my priority might be spend time with my kids. Under tasks, I might have ideas to spend time with them. It just depends on how you look at it. Anne-Marie says you have a to-do list for when you give your dog her meds. Yeah. Cynthia, you loving the discipline. You woke up early and got up. Awesome. Now you got to keep it up, right? Now that's like the challenge is 3 weeks from now when things start getting good and you're tempted to take your foot off the gas. Don't do it. You have to keep getting up, right? Yeah, Cynthia, you like seeing it. Don't even have to open it to keep yourself on task. That's awesome. And I carry mine around everywhere, especially now that I'm trying to log my food better. So I'm always I'm making it a point to log my food better. And yeah, I keep it with me everywhere. I keep it in my bag or carry it around the house. Rachel says, yeah, you have 3 boys and a hubby, all sports lovers. Cursing is a thing here. Yeah, right? Gail, sounds like a toxic situation, says Anne-Marie. Yeah, I kind of hear you there. And Kirsten says, for me, I say 50 max. Yeah, I agree. Rachel says, where are you? I don't even know your name doing this video. What state are you in? I just bought the journal and joined the group. Rachel, so I am Nick, and we're in Pittsburgh. So everything is done out of our house for the book. My wife ships out of our basement and our garage, and this is us. This is Define My Day. Actually, Defined Life is the name of the company, but yeah, it's us. This is a process that I came up with. I used to print out worksheets every couple of weeks, and I would have two folders stuck to my wall. I would have the empty sheets and I would have the completed sheets until the folder got too big, it fell off the wall. And I started finding sheets all over the place, and I decided to finally put it into a book, and this is what we're doing. Yeah. So hi, nice to meet you. Christine says, I struggled for the first few months, especially December. December's tough. I've made a lot of progress in January by focusing on consistency. Yes. You enjoy Define My Day time every day. Yeah. And daily disciplines have been the most effective so far. Yes. Okay. And let's go into real quick this idea of consistency. We want to balance consistency and routine with time to focus, right? So we use this consistency, this concept of daily disciplines, and this concept of routines, and becoming more efficient by developing these solid routines, whether it's a morning routine or whatever. And when we do that, it frees up time to be more creative and to focus on the really complicated stuff. So, there's research out there that says, when your brain is bored, it starts to shut down, and it really grows when there's change and when there's like growth and learning going on. So we don't want to get into such a routine that we're bored. Like, that's not our goal here. The goal is to get into that routine like you're talking about, so that we have the extra time to really focus and use the brain power on the things that are going to help us grow and learn. So we're kind of taking advantage of both. But yeah, if you can get it clicking, that's really where you want to be. And for people that get into like week 2 and 3 and they start falling off the wagon, you got to push through that. You got to really knuckle down and push through it, so that when you come out of it, you're really clicking and it's going, and then it's so much easier. Now the key, though, the big perspective switch happens when, after you're clicking and going, some big disruption happens and you completely fall off the wagon. As this has happened to me a couple of times, where I completely fall off the wagon and I might lose it for a week and I'm not doing anything with Define My Day, and then I try to get back on, and you can see, you can remember how easy it felt when everything was clicking really well. And now that I've lost all momentum and I try to start again, and I experience it the same way the new people are experiencing it now, where it takes almost a full week to really get going again and get settled down and get my mind wrapped around what I have to do. And it takes a couple of weeks to get back up to speed. So, and that perspective is amazing, and it really makes you not want to stop momentum. And it's hard when something happens, when a major issue happens, whether it's a big work struggle, relationship issues, maybe a death in the family or health issue, those can really knock us off. But that's when having healthy habits and healthy routines, really leaning into those habits, can make you put you in a place where you can handle those negative situations even better. And I think that's the real challenge for me. I'm not even there yet, but I know, whether it's even going on vacation, maintaining my healthy habits on vacation, so that I'm really healthy and I don't come home like a mess. So, if you can try to really push through with the hard times, then I think that you're so much more effective at getting through things. Anne Marie, a perfect day for Anne Marie is getting up at 6 a.m. Yep. I keep pushing it to 7, but I know I got up that 1 hour early, I'd do so much more, or I'd get so much done. So I hear you, Anne Marie. So for me, I was getting up at 5 o'clock until the sort of Christmas rush, New Year's rush, and Define My Day knocked me off completely. We were working like 16 hours a day trying to get books out of the house. And so now that I've come out of that and I try to get back on schedule, I had a real hard time getting up at 5, and I'm going to bed later. But what I am trying to do, I'm sort of experimenting with myself right now, is I'm waking up at about 7 right now. It's not going easily, but my goal is to try to get enough sleep. Try to get 8 or 9 hours of sleep every night, so that I'm more rested, and I'm trying to figure out if it's making me more clear-headed over time, better able to concentrate, and even more effective in getting things done. Now, I know I have the luxury of doing that where some other people don't, so I'm trying it. I want to see what happens. I am probably going to try to get back to the 5 o'clock wake-up time eventually, but we'll see. So, don't beat yourself up so much by getting up at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock is still a respectable time. But I know that we've posted in the group that there was an article that said that that 5 to 7 o'clock is when people really get the important things done, which I absolutely agree. I think that having that solid morning routine changed my life. That 5 to 8 o'clock 3-hour block, I got so much healthy stuff done for myself there that it was amazing, life changing. Like those are the 3 hours that changed my life, absolutely. So yeah, if you can give yourself some slack, the easy way to do it is to just get up at 6 o'clock. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 it, like the 5-second rule, and just get out of bed. And eventually, if you do that, you'll be so tired at night you'll fall asleep at the proper time, so that you are able to do that. And there was a time when I was so good at getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning that I never even needed to set an alarm. I would just pop up out of bed at 5 o'clock. That lasted for a couple of months till something happened that knocked me off track. But yeah. And yes, Steeler fans, absolutely. Well, Antonio Brown's breaking my heart, but we'll deal with it. Texas there, but you got some of the coldness. I saw Florida is going to be under 32 degrees tonight or tomorrow. Thank you. I appreciate it. It is a good concept, I think. That the emails and the things that we've seen from people, the changes that people are making, it's amazing. Amazing. And I love the stories that we hear. And when we started getting those, struggling. So as we're going through this business and struggling to start this business and to get this out there, and we get some feedback, positive and negative. But it's amazing when you get one of these emails that say, like, this changed my life. I went from here to here. That's like, that's why we're doing this, right? Like that right here. And I'll print it out and I'll show it to my wife and I'll be like, this is why we're putting up with all the stuff that we're putting up with and why we're all the things going on. Like that was like those couple of messages that we get. Really, it's awesome. Awesome. So thank you. Suzanne, sitting here planning my next 2 days before vacation. Yep. And try to plan on vacation, right? So we had somebody that was going on vacation all through January, and they got their book right before they went on vacation. And their question in the group was, do I start now or do I wait until after I come back? And I think the right response that one of our user group members came up with was start it now. Because for one, you can plan out your vacation, right? Your priorities of what you want to do on your vacation and what you want to focus on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whether you want to go someplace or focus on the experience. Plus the journaling aspect of it gives you a written record of your entire trip. So I didn't think of that. I wish I could take credit for it. I think it's an amazing concept. And if you can stick with it, I think that, vacation, would be probably more effective. Does that sound like fun? I don't know. I think an effective vacation would be great for me. So Rachel says, I got my book first week of January and then left for Cancun and haven't gotten on track. So I'm like, February will be a month to get organized. Well, we just talked about that, right? It's okay. So you shared this video with your team, Facebook, and your upline. I would love for them to try it out too. Awesome. So now you have me curious in what sort of business you're in, upline. Are you like a Beachbody coach or a Lip Sense, or what are you doing there? What time do people go to bed if they get up at 5 a.m.? So I would get to bed at 10 to get up at 5. I would try to get to bed at 10. I would generally end up getting to bed at 10:30 or 11. And having 6 hours of sleep is not my goal. My discipline, like for me to define rest on my daily disciplines, is 7 hours or more of sleep. So, if I wasn't getting 7 hours of sleep, I wouldn't check off that discipline thing. But that meant for us getting the kids in bed by 8:30, 8:45, and then maybe my wife and I would watch a little bit of TV, but I have to start winding down at 9:30 at night to make sure that I was in bed at 10 and falling asleep. It's hard to do. It's hard to do with kids. It's hard to do with, a business and everything. So that's sort of why I'm giving myself till 6 or 7 in the morning right now. I'm probably going to get back to 5 a.m. eventually, but, it's, I think it's more important. It just depends. That I can't say it's more important. I think that it depends on what season you're in. So for me, when I was already overwhelmed with work and already overwhelmed with everything I had to do and not making the progress that I needed to make when I first started this out, I felt it was more important for me to get less sleep and have those extra hours in the morning. Now that things have settled down for me a little bit, I think it's more important for me to get more sleep than it is for me to spend those 2 hours really early in the morning. We'll see. If I can't get the things done that I need to get done, if I start needing more time, or if I feel like I'm wasting time at night, if I'm wasting time watching TV for 2 hours at night, that could be better utilized sleeping and then getting up at an earlier time. So it just depends on what you're using your time for. If you're really wasting time, then I say get to bed earlier and wake up earlier. Anne Marie says, so true. I'm a huge vacay planner and plan each day. I do a bit of journaling and do a trip report when I get back. Wow, good for you. But I know that's not for everyone. Yeah, so, and I think that's a good point. Not everyone's going to handle all these situations exactly the same. I think that, it's a matter of what's good for you. For me on vacation, and it's me being realistic about what is good for me. So for me, I am a go to the beach or go to the pool and not worry about anything and drink and eat, right? And I don't want to plan. I don't like going on excursions. I don't like seeing things. But then after I leave, I regret not seeing things. So I need to be more honest with myself and say, well, maybe I need to prioritize and plan my vacations a little bit better. So it just depends on how you feel. You have to sort of, in the way that I would analyze my feelings after quitting a vacation or leaving a vacation is sort of the way we need to analyze our feelings about each day. Do I feel like today was effective for me? Do I regret not doing things? Are there things that I should have been doing, should not have been doing? That's why we always have to kind of be honest with ourselves and more aware of what makes us feel good and bad. Rachel, you are an independent Sensi consultant. Yeah. And Cancun was my first all-inclusive free trip. That is awesome. That is awesome. Cool. Good for you. Yeah, Pamela said thinking 10 p.m. also. Yep. And that's still, 7 hours is still not enough for most people. So, it's tough. Suzanne says, my vacation goals are to spend quality time with my husband's brother and sister, plus read a book, may visit Marineland. Awesome. It's funny because I always take a book with me on vacation and I never read it. Never. I'm always exhausted by the end of the night and I don't wake up early enough to read it. Should earn my next free trip by end of tonight to Marco Island, Florida. Good for you. Hopefully it's above freezing. Bobby says, what about those of us who have different circadian rhythm? I tend to function better at night. Yes. So Daniel Pink wrote a book titled When, and it's about the different types of people. There's a lark, which is the person that wakes up early in the morning. There's an owl, the person that's good at night, and then there's something for the person in the middle. And that is up to you, really. For me, I was an owl. I think I changed myself into a lark because between 5 and 8 a.m. was the only time I could get where I had quiet, where my kids weren't awake yet, nobody was calling, customers weren't calling, I wasn't exhausted from my day. So I had to designate the hours of 5 to 8 as my me time. And I turned myself into a morning person. I think I'm naturally a night person, but you know you have to work it out for yourself. So if you really want to get into that, look up Daniel Pink. When is the title of the book, and one of the things you'll take from this book is you never have surgery after lunch. The incident of malpractice and issues in hospitals and doctors' offices increase ridiculously after lunch because that's when everybody starts going to sleep. And mistakes happen because the brain is not functioning at the same level it was early in the morning. So, yeah. Um, Direct sales is definitely your calling. Social butterfly. Yep. Yep. I know. We're a Beachbody family. My wife did Beachbody for a very long time, and she liked it. It got to be a little exhausting though. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, on a cruise, had a book to read, never did. Yep, I know. I bring it with me every single time, and I never read it. I keep thinking I'm going to read the magazines that I have that I never read, all that stuff. It never happens. Tracy, can't wait to get started. I can't wait for you to get started. Don't let it sit around. Start on Sunday. Sunday's the best day to do the planning. Monday's the best day to get started. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, Rachel, we got to use Define My Day and get those really going. Melissa says, I realized that I needed to start with an evening routine and going to bed early now after a year of little shifts and steps. What? That moved on me. My kids are getting 11 hours of sleep and I'm getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep. Good for you. I can get up by 5:30 now and I think positives and grateful thoughts a while and how I'll nail my day before getting up to start coffee quiet time. I've prepared now for getting the kids up and ready for school. Mornings are so much happier and relaxing, and I'm the lark I've always wanted to be now. Melissa, that is exactly the kind of thing that I was going through. My kids are getting, so we have a 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they get about 11 hours of sleep right now. And I get up at 5:30 and do the very similar things that you're talking about. Um, yeah, and that's pretty much it. Get the kids up and ready for school. Yes, yes. So I'm definitely liking that comment. Good for you. I love it. Cynthia says today was enlightening. I am a night person, past life professional musician. Today I accomplished so much more before noon. I'm wiped out. Well, that's good. Now you can go to sleep and get up tomorrow and do it all over again. And I am so in our next video that we do on Sunday, I think I'm going to talk about time blocking as far as how to effectively use our time. I time block randomly when I feel like I'm really not being efficient, but I time blocked today and I crushed my day today. So we're going to go into a little bit of time blocking next time, and I'm going to make sure I make a note about that. Um, but yeah, that's awesome to see. Good for you, Cynthia. Um, get your day scheduled the night before. If you wake up knowing what you need to do, it's the best. And Rachel, you love love Beachbody, drink your shakes every day. That's awesome. Caroline says, do you use Define My Day and a daily journal? Do people use both? I know some people have. There are some people that use a couple of different things. For me, I needed something quick and simple. So I looked at a lot of other journals as I was trying to figure out what was going on with me, like how to best navigate through things. And I had little journals and I had things that I was trying. For me, I just needed all in one book. And that's kind of why we went the way we did with Define My Day. But, you know, the one negative I can see with Define My Day is if you're journaling, you may not want to take that journal with you as you're as you're going on your day in case you leave it somewhere and it falls into the wrong hands. So I know that for me, I think is a valid reason for keeping a separate journal, and maybe then you just journal like stuff as it pertains to your productivity and that sort of thing. Suzanne, you love time blocking? Yeah, I don't use it enough. I should be. Bobby says, I think one of the biggest reasons I'm an owl is that I take care of my 91-year-old mother and she gets up at 4 a.m. Wow, that's tough. So I get my me time at night. Yeah, I don't know how you can get your me time at night if you're getting up at 4 a.m. But yeah, so and that sort of thing, we have to kind of go by the situation, right? So for me, I'm just trying to avoid, my kids in a way, as mean as that might sound. I'm just trying to get things done before they are up and, things are going on and clients calling and everything else. And I don't want to have to think about work at 9 o'clock at night. I used to. I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. Yeah. So that's oh, she gets up then but not you. Okay, I got you. I was picturing you getting up with her at 4 a.m. and then also having to stay up with to take care of yourself or do your things at night. But I get you. Your Coors Light time. Yeah, Colorado Kool-Aid. I don't know how you guys drink Coors Light. I have a buddy that drinks it like water, and it is water. I like the darker stuff. Well, this one isn't too dark. I just like the name. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about before we get out of here, because I know we're running over time, and I do want to get out of here. But for those people that asked about life purpose or, not having goals. Somebody in here mentioned not having a goal. So Sunday, we talked about this book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up, right? I read this book twice in 2017. This book, I read it one time and it inspired me to make changes because I was operating like I was way too concerned with what other people thought. So I made significant changes over the course of 2017. And I read it again after that year was over. And I think it changed my life as far as if you feel like you're somebody that operates too worried about what other people think or what you're doing things for other people more than yourself, read that book. One of the concepts out of it was that we all have a limited number of F's. And if you put your F's, if you're using your F's on the wrong things, you're running out of F's and you're not putting the F's where it should be. So don't waste your F's. On top of that, this author wrote an article back in 2014 that I posted on the Facebook page and in the group. It was titled 7 Strange Questions That Help You Find Your Life Purpose. I'm not going to read the whole article for you. You can go onto our page and read it. But the 7 questions are, what's your favorite flavor of shit sandwich and does it come with an olive? All right, so basically everything sucks some of the time. So what can you handle? Like what's your worst case scenario? What can you handle? Number 2, what is true about you today that would make your 8-year-old self cry? Right? So are you being authentic for yourself? Or, are you doing the things you really want to be doing? What makes you forget to eat and poop? So what are those things you can get so involved in that you just forget to take care of yourself because you love it so much? How can you better embarrass yourself? Like, what do you not mind embarrassing yourself about? For me, we'll go Sunday, right? You can roll your eyes at me all you want. It might be embarrassing, but I'm going to go home and watch a football game with my kid. How are you going to save the world? Awesome question. It doesn't need to be the world. It could be your local community or one person around you. Gun to your head, if you had to leave the house all day, every day, where would you go and what would you do? It's pretty self-explanatory. And then number 7 is, if you knew you were going to die 1 year from today, what would you do and how would you want to be remembered? This one's big. Like if you ever had a medical scare and you thought you could die sometime soon, and you thought about all the things that you haven't done or haven't been doing, like, why aren't we doing them? Why are we putting it off? We're going to die. Something bad is going to happen to each one of us. Why are we wasting our time? So read that article. It's a really good article. The author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F also wrote that article. It's posted on the page already. Whipped cream vodka and diet orange soda. That sounds delicious. No, it's good stuff. It's only good stuff because it tastes like water. Need to learn more about time blocking. Looking forward to the next session. Yeah, that's a good one. Time blocking is good. Should be friends. I have to say this has been great. Thanks. I've had my journal for months and it's been carried around empty in my bag. Pamela. I honestly didn't think much of the 28-day planning. I really poo-pooed it. Yeah, I know we get that once in a while, but I really think you'll give it a try and do more than give it a try. Commit to it. It's 28 days. You got to live those days anyway. So try to do whatever you can do to make it work for you. And at the end, if you give it an honest shot, at the end of those 30 days, if you say, not for me, that's okay. But give it an honest shot. Remember, nothing outside of you will change unless you do. Right? We started off that way. This process works. It absolutely works. I 100% believe in it. So give it a shot. No more poo-pooing us. 8-year-old self gave you chills? Yeah, I know, right? My 8-year-old self would not be real happy with some of the decisions I've made. I need to read that book. Yep, you do. It's an amazing book. I've given it away to people, some friends of mine, and I recommend it to everybody. It's if you feel like you're operating for somebody else, you need to. If you're not being authentic to yourself, read that book. All right, we are over time, and I am out of beer, and I'm tired. I want to go to bed soon. In honest try, yeah, I know, Pamela. I'm just pulling your chain a little bit. But hey, I appreciate you guys all spending time with me. If you have any questions, if you think of anything after the fact, feel free to ask. You can message us. You can comment on this video. You can come back for another video, and we'll talk about all the other stuff we have to talk about. Have a great night. Sleep well. Get up at the time that's appropriate for you. And I hope everybody does well. Define your day so you can define your life. Be happy. Be your fulfilled self. Meet that person in heaven that is your ideal self, and be twins. Let's do it. All right, great. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.